Welcome to the Gray Area Podcast Live. It is January 5th, 2024. It is Friends Friday here on the Gray Area Podcast Live on Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. I am your host, Kevin Gray. Really appreciate you joining us. However, and wherever you may be listening to us, whether it be on the podcast or live here on YouTube, you can eventually listen to it on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast for free. Make sure you give the podcast a 5-star rating and write a review for it while you're there. You can also subscribe to Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube as well. Make sure you hit the like button if you're joining us as well, so more people can come in and watch it alongside with us. Really excited about our show today. First show of the 2024 calendar year. If you missed my last show of the 2023 calendar year, check that out with Aisha Morrison of DallasCowboys.com and of Girls Talk, Boys Talk. She was absolutely terrific, and we'll definitely have her on the program at some point down the line. But joining me today, you can find him on 105.3 The Fan, hosting the Get Right Monday through Friday, 7 to 11 p.m. My friend, my brother, Reginald Adetula, joining me on Friends Friday. Reg, what's going on?
Not much.
That's it?
That's it.
That's all you got?
Yep. That's it.
I like how you thought you was gonna go into something else. You was like, no, actually, I'm gonna just leave it right where it is. Just leave it right there.
I'm gonna keep it simple.
New Year treat you okay?
I mean, we're still here. We're still here.
I mean, that's a start. That's definitely a start for sure.
That's right. I mean, I just got here. I don't know how much I can evaluate how well the New Year's treating me, but we still here, and so ultimately, that's the part that matters.
What's the cap to say Happy New Year's to someone? What day is that? What day is that?
I mean, probably 3-4 days in.
That's it? 3 or 4 days in? Once you get there, that's it?
I mean, ultimately, the cap is however far you want to take this, understanding that person might respond a little crazy to you. But I think mostly everybody's just going to be like, yeah, thank you. Happy New Year. Not very many people are going to go full Larry David on you. I don't think so. But
so if I come to you January 15th talking about some Happy New Year, you're like, hey, man. Like,
I'm a clown on you personally, but I know you well enough to do that. Most people just be like, well, yeah, thank you. And then keep it moving. It's really not that big of a deal, but ultimately, people might talk crazy about you behind your back. Like, can you believe that this Joker was going around on the 15th? Happy New Year. But I mean, the stakes are very low on that. So I guess happy New Year, your heart out if you so please.
Okay, good. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were clear before.
Are you a Happy New Year person real deep into this?
No, once I get to about the 4th or the 5th, if I haven't seen you, prior to then, and then I see you after that, I'm not going to hit you with a Happy New Year. It's like, hey, good to see you. How are things so far in your new year? That type of thing. But I'm not going to hit you with
you get the backdoor Happy New Year.
Exactly. I'm going to check in on you, make sure you're good in your first, several days of the new year versus, Happy New Year within the first 2-3 days. So I feel like at that point it's old. It's old news at that point.
Yeah, I respect it. I'm rather curmudgeonly, as you might know. I really don't hit nobody with the Happy New Year unless they hit me with the Happy New Year. Other than that,
so you wait until someone wishes you a Happy New Year and then you
just the obligation of social cues. Like that's all it is.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I mean, all the people that be sending the Happy New Year's text. I'm very much if somebody sends it to me, I'll send it back. Otherwise, do you know how I don't know how much responsibility that is to like go through your entire phone book and send Happy New Year's to folks, and then you feel bad if you send it to certain folks and not other folks. But then you don't want to actually strike up the conversation of obligation, right? Because some people are just going to hit you with the Happy New Year, but some people are like, this is now an invitation to start a conversation, which is, I mean, like not inherently a bad thing, but not all those people you want to have a conversation with.
See, now watch this. Happy New Year, my G's. Shout out to BD.
Happy New Year to you as well, BD. And you know exactly the place in my heart that came from.
The obligatory Happy New Year because someone said it to you first.
That's right.
See, that's exactly why I put it up there. Shout out to you. Come on in and join us. Have some good time with us here
on live. That's cute.
I'd say people want to hear us talk about, stuff like, how we used to do. Like, I don't know why that surprises you still.
What stopped that from happening?
Wait.
I'm just asking questions. That's all.
That's not for today's conversation. No, not at all. No, not at all. But people want to hear us, hear you, because you're here. They want to hear you. They hear me run my mouth all the time when it comes to these types of things. Don't worry. We'll get into, naysayers and, other stuff throughout the course of the show. But before we get there, I love how the NFL really looks at, you and I and says, look, 93 of the top 100 shows of 2023 are all NFL games. In fact, we're going to treat it such as an NFL, as a TV show, that we're calling week 18, whatever this is, the season finale, as if this is one big, large television show that's ending its season, and then it's about to start, the other programming, which I guess technically it is, because the regular season finale is on Sunday at this point.
Yeah. Well, it don't matter what they call it. They know this. Like, I think it's
just the idea is it's NFL season finale. Like, this is some big sitcom that's about to go away. No, you're not going away. That's the whole point of your existence, that you don't go away at this point.
Like, if I wanted to be obtuse, I could be like, yo, they shouldn't do that, because there's enough people out here talking about scripts and stuff that frequently get out here talking about how this is scripted and this is preordained or what have you. But I mean, we all know that that's, people are either having fun or, people that you probably don't need to listen to. But look, man, you're going to watch this football. Like, it's cute that they have a marketing department at all. If it say NFL, people will usually tune in, which is why I'm kind of interested in the fact that for the first time ever, the NFL will have a playoff game that is not on cable TV or broadcast television this year. They have a full Peacock game during the wild card round. And so that game will just be streaming on Peacock, and it's I mean, they've already kind of had the full-time Peacock game earlier this year. What was that? During the Thanksgiving weekend?
It was like the Bills or something like that.
Yeah, the Bills was on there, and I was like, y'all got it, bro. Like, although I do have access to Peacock, I was not about to log that up at my folks' house. That's, y'all know how that goes, right? That's a whole different thing. But then as well, like, we already have gone to the place where there are games that are exclusively on stream when you talk about Thursday Night Football. But for the longest time, I thought that the NFL and they do benefit from this, but they were the one major American sport when you talk about men's sports that had the widest access, right? They were like, broadcast television as much as possible. You can get this over the air. And then very few exceptions, you would have to have maybe like cable television, where you can compare that to NBA and NBA and MLB and NHL. They have a lot, majority, in fact, of their televised games on cable television or other situations like league pass type things that you need if you wanted to watch any type of game. You can watch pretty much every game. Well, actually, not every game. You do need the red zone or something like that, but you can keep up pretty well with the NFL just by, having a digital antenna at this point. And they're, so I thought they were benefiting very much from like the access of it all. But it seems like in the quest to make money, and I mean, obviously that's what these businesses are here for, right? And ultimately making money. They can talk about all these other endeavors that they are looking to, get to, but the dollar is the major thing they're trying to get to. I always wondered, at what point would the access to all kind of take a back seat to the continual pursuit of money. And it seems like we're crossing that Rubicon, right? Obviously the Thursday Night Football, but now you're getting playoff games. I thought the playoff games would probably be untouched, even if we have regular season games that end up in various packages like the Amazon one. We got Peacock taking over a playoff game now. It's like, the access only means so much if we can extract that much more value out of putting this on streaming. And I wonder how far that goes. It's just obviously a starting point. We'll see how far it goes, because I imagine that the numbers on that watch, when it comes to like the ratings, not going to be all that good, and relatively, obviously. And I wonder if they'll continue to push past that, because the money that they can pull in from streaming is substantial.
Yeah, the NFL is willing to test your limits on your spending power and whether or not you're willing. How down are you to watch this football on any platform that we put it on, whether it be on Amazon Prime, Peacock, which I do happen to have a subscription because,
because they're a wrestle. I know. You don't even have to
exactly. So I don't have to worry about it. It's funny because, it did help me a little bit earlier, because the Cowboys and Giants was on Peacock, you know, alongside NBC on Sunday Night Football, and I happened to be away from the television, so I could watch it streaming on Peacock. I was like, well, maybe this is good, you know, good for me to have. But at the same time, it's funny because the NFL, or excuse me, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football and ABC released the numbers from the Cowboys-Lions game, and it was, I think, the third most watched quote-unquote Monday night game, even though it was on a Saturday.
That's right.
In the last however long. But the idea being it was simulcasted on both ESPN and ABC, and ABC and Disney were like, hey, since we didn't have any, you know, television shows during the early part of the fall, let's just put these games on ABC and see how it does. Oh, that's right. We were reminded how much people watch network television when there's a Monday night game on that people can actually access and what the numbers are, which made me think, why? And I know why, because it was money. But at the same time, people got reminded, hey, man, put these games on network television where everybody can watch them. And guess what? You're going to probably have massive numbers when people watch these games on network television.
Well, you can double dip, right? If you get into this streaming situation, you can get the rights agreement from streaming, you know, and they're usually paying a premium because they're not in that legacy market of it. So in order for them to get involved in it, they probably have to pay a little bit more of a premium, and you're still getting the advertising, right? And so obviously the advertising that network can do is big money. Well, I guess the advertising is ultimately still going to those streamers or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you're extracting a higher premium because this is a place where you have these, you know, you have your partners that you already have. And so if you want to butt in on this, you got to pay a little bit more to get involved. And so, yeah. And obviously the Peacock situation is with our partner that you already have, right? You're already dealing with NBC Universal, right? And they have some of this on their, you know, legacy Sunday Night Football, whatever. Some of this might just be the idea that streamer or that, you know, NBC is trying to see if they can utilize football to prop up their streaming more than anything. But
live sports being the bait to draw you in here.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. And maybe, because I know Jerry Jones has kind of talked about the ways in which the access was paramount to their, you know, the way that they go about this. So I wonder, does this reflect a change in this, or is this simply NBC looking around and going, NFL does all these numbers and people will go to where the NFL is. Can we get them to go to this product at Peacock that, unless you are interested in very niche things like is it still The Office? Do they still have like the grasp on The Office where it's like you got to come here to go to get The Office, unless you're like a real big Office fan or a fan of very particular shows, or you like this wrestle, or you like Premier League soccer, right? Unless there's a very small niche, people aren't really tapping into Peacock. Well, there's a very big niche when it comes to NFL, and see if you can draw people in there. Maybe that's all this is. But I find it fascinating that we're continuing to see NFL delve more into the streaming portion.
NFL season finale this weekend. There's actually
you don't have to call it that. You don't have to. They're calling it. You don't have to do that.
Well, you know, why not? Why not? 2 games on Saturday. You got Pittsburgh and Baltimore, Houston, Indianapolis. Shout out to Houston, who's playing a game outside of, you know, noon. It feels like, for the first time ever. But that game is actually for the AFC South. Whoever wins that game wins the AFC South. Am I correct? If Houston wins, they win the AFC South.
No, because if the Jags win, they'll
that's
win the
right.
AFC South. But what it does mean, it's basically a win and get in when it comes to the playoffs between the Colts and the Texans.
So either a win for Indianapolis, they're in. Is that the scenario here?
Pretty much.
Okay. Yeah. Well, shout out to Gardner Minshew and the Indianapolis Colts. I forgot that Anthony Richardson started off this season. It's been so long, a year, that's right. Anthony Richardson was like the starter there before he got hurt and got injured. That's right. And then Sunday, okay, so you and I could go play and sign up for quarterback this weekend because of all the starting quarterbacks that are sitting this weekend. Matthew Stafford's not playing. Shout out to Carson Wentz, who in the year of our Lord 2024 is starting against Sam Darnold. That's right. Of the San Francisco 49ers. So,
and I am intrigued. I'm very much.
Are you really? Are you really?
No joke. Why? You see the smile on my face right now? I'm actually very intrigued. When the Niners signed Sam Darnold, I was like, I'm interested in seeing what happens there, because Sam Darnold, like, look,
was there some people who actually thought Sam Darnold was going to take that job?
No, I can't imagine that.
However, I was making sure.
I do think, and I feel like I'm in line with this group. I do think that there's people that are like, Sam Darnold could look like an NFL quarterback in that system. And maybe that's just holding on hope that something that you should not, because Sam Darnold, I mean, was real hyped out of USC, but did not look good with the Jets, did not look good with the Carolina Panthers. Like, a lot of people have
there was that Carolina Panther era.
Yeah, a lot of people have come to the idea that this dude is just not an NFL quarterback, and that is okay. But I believe so strongly in the ways that Kyle Shanahan, makes the game easy for quarterbacks, and as long as you can do a few simple things, you can have success there. Now, of course, that is not me shading Brock Purdy. We don't have to go down that road again. No, it really isn't. Like, I have an appreciation for Brock Purdy existing in that place where he can do the things that Kyle Shanahan wants, but he does them fairly well. And so he's been able to succeed. And that's wonderful. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm interested in point guard all the time.
Yeah.
Just throw the ball to them dudes. Let them
But
run.
he's also good at playing the point guard role, right? Like, there's something to be said for that. I'm interested in seeing if Sam Darnold can actually do that. I've been waiting for the opportunity to see it. And then on top of that, you put it on the other side, and Carson Wentz is a hilarious figure. What can Sean McVay do over there? Because Baker Mayfield came through, looked real nice, and he's had a good season in Tampa after that as well. So I really do want to see that. Plus, Carson Wentz has a chance to do one of the funniest things ever.
Which is?
Beat up on the Niners right quick.
What's gonna make me laugh is if Sam Darnold goes for 330 and 4 touchdowns, and Carson Wentz goes for like 320, 3 touchdowns on the other side. Right. We're gonna look at Sean McVay and
game
Kyle
of
Shanahan.
The year.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna look at Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay like, hey man, really?
That's right.
Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz.
This
is what we're doing. Yep. This is what we're doing. And somebody's gonna get tricked to thinking, oh, you know what? Because this is one of those games where you look at it and say, hey man, we could fix him. He looked good with Kyle Shanahan. He looked good with Sean McVay. Maybe if we get him over here, we could fix them.
That's the beauty of this game. Both those dudes have long enough track records that we don't even have to go down that route. We could just enjoy them balling out right quick. That's the thing. We don't have to, or at least I think so. I believe strongly enough in all the actors involved, and I probably shouldn't, based off of the track record of everything. But I believe strongly enough that everybody in the NFL has already has the understanding that those dudes are not like starting quarterbacks in any means. So don't do that. But if they ball out, it'd be fun to see them ball out. Yeah, no, but they're not here because they believe that they're starters. They're here because we're in week 18 and them teams are like, we're not putting the real guy out here.
I do love the idea that the Rams have decided to punt on the idea of trying to move up potentially another spot in the NFC playoffs. And like, actually, no, we know we're going to go on the road either way. It's just a matter of where, because if I was Matthew Stafford coming into this game, I would want to play because I have the chance, if we win, to move up to the 6th seed and go to Detroit, where it would be the ultimate revenge game. Jared Goff versus the Rams, Matthew Stafford versus the Lions. And could you imagine Matthew Stafford walking into Detroit with the Rams and beating Detroit in their building on the way to moving on in the NFC playoffs? If I'm Stafford, I want to just do that so I can, play this weekend's game so I have a chance to do that and go to Detroit and beat them.
No, you don't. If you're everybody watching Matthew Stafford, you want that. Matthew Stafford don't care about that. For who? For what? Right? Like, that doesn't matter.
You don't think there's a small part of Matthew Stafford that would love to go to Detroit and beat them?
Not a big enough part to actually matter. Like, one thing
or sign up to play in a meaningless game, essentially, against the San Francisco 49ers.
Matt Stafford dealt with injury issues all year. I feel like what Matt Stafford cares about more is an opportunity to not take some car crashes.
Yeah, if I had a chance to sit down against San Francisco, I probably would take it too.
We're still getting on a plane. We're still playing at somebody's house. We're still the underdog in this situation. Might as well sit my butt down and not have to deal with throwing his football 30-some times, not having to deal with any of these pass rushers coming to get me. Bosa Boy, Armstead, right? Like, all them other cats, don't have to deal with them coming at me. Give me 1 week of rest and rehabilitation to maybe get yourself ready to play as good of a game as you can in the postseason.
Well, let's explore that for a second, because you brought up something very interesting here when it comes to because when you look at the playoff standings as they are right now, if the Rams win, they're locked into the 6th seed. So right now they would be headed to Detroit. They would be headed to Detroit if the playoffs started today. Right now, as it stands, the Packers are the 7th seed going into this weekend's action. If they win, they clinch a play. It's very simple for the Packers. They win, they're in the playoffs. And as of right now, the Packers would be coming to AT&T Stadium to take on the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys All they have to do is beat up on a team in Washington who has decided to quit for the rest of this season, because if you look at their injury report, I don't know who in the world is going to play on them defensively, and they don't care who is going to play either, apparently, as dudes are coaching and playing for their jobs at this point.
Are
the
they
Cowboys,
for their jobs at this point?
Well, Eric Bieniemy, I think, is he's trying to put out some good tape, but they're going to get crushed. If the Cowboys handle the Cowboy business, Washington's going to get crushed on Sunday, which is fine, which means the Cowboys are going to be the 2 seed, and they're going to host, as of right now, the Green Bay Packers. If you had told me, Reg, after Marquez Valdez-Scantling dropped that touchdown pass that would have beaten the Philadelphia Eagles on that Monday night game in Kansas City, that we would be sitting here going into the final week of the season, and the Cowboys, all they have to do is beat up on a Commanders team that's quit, and they get the 2 seed in the playoffs, which means at minimum, if they win, they're going to host potentially 2 playoff games at AT&T Stadium, and they would not see the road until possibly the NFC title game. Let's say, for the sake of conversation, that San Francisco finishes off business and gets to the NFC title game. That's where the Cowboys would be headed. But that means they would get 2 home playoff games. If you had told me that a month and a half ago, I would have told you were nuts. But yeah, here we are, and that's what the Cowboys have in front of them this weekend.
Any given Sunday or Saturday or Monday.
Is that what we're doing?
Thursday. Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. Like, no, that's the way that this league has worked this year, right? There's not a single team in this league that you can't look up and down the resume and be like, ooh, but that right there. And that's ultimately what you saw happen. And so, I imagine that gives you some level of confidence, because everybody has one of those, right? Like, I got this, but you do too, right? And I guess the closest thing to not having that is the Ravens, who have dominated those games and just was like, here, you can have a game. It's cool. It's cool. You got it. Y'all can have this one. They did that, two times this year? Is it 2 or 3? Did they have 3 losses at this point? I can't remember.
3.
Yes. And so everybody's got their warts. And so enough of those happen down the stretch where the Cowboys are back into that place, and blessings, really and truly blessings. I imagine Jerry Jones very happy about that. We can put some money in his pocket when it comes to filling AT&T. I imagine Mike McCarthy's very happy about this, because it seems like, even though, like, I don't know how much it actually is within that building, but I feel like all the smart people around this are like, hey man, you probably need to win some playoff games if this is going to remain sustainable. And the way that these splits are set up, you know what I mean? Like, playing at home, real helpful for that. I imagine Dak Prescott feels great about that. There's a lot of people that are blessing various deities and or universes for the way that this shook out for the Cowboys to be able to play at home.
Shout out to Cowboy Craig. Let's go. Love this. Keep on keeping on. That's sweet. Appreciate the message.
Appreciate you, Cowboy Craig.
I like how you said the Cowboy Craig. Is there a little slang in there? Is that what you're doing there?
You said his name.
No, you did. It was nice though. The idea though, right I don't know. We're just having fun, I think. The fact that the Cowboys, okay, look, let's say this ends the way that it is right now. Could you imagine Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers walking into AT&T Stadium, and if they took out the Cowboys in the wild card round, what Cowboys fans are going to do with Mike McCarthy and like, hey man, you know what? Don't worry about it, Mike. We'll come pack your stuff for you. Don't you even worry about it. We'll take your stuff for you, and we'll send you on back to Green Bay, since you love Green Bay so much you keep losing to them.
Buddy, they would fire him into the sun. However, the thing that gets interesting about this, not that I've thought about it too much, but there's been a couple of seasons prior, where if the team was to get rid of Mike McCarthy, you know who gets the job, right? Dan Quinn. Does it feel like that's still the case? Because, like, in order for that to happen, it would be in part because Dan Quinn's defense does not show up. And it feels like the luster on Dan Quinn has faded somewhat. Not to say that he's, like, done an abysmal job or anything, but it has not been the same full-throated, like, yo, Dan Quinn is the dude and is definitely the guy who you hand this job to. Like, do you feel like that's still the same?
I think the amount of fervor behind it has diminished, but I would still think he would be the favorite to land the job here, more so than anything to keep him from going somewhere else, because there are reports out there that the Chargers would have him on a short list, of head coaching candidates to be able to talk to once the season or once, they have a chance to start interviewing, for their head coaching job. Say it again.
Him and Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh, I think would actually be a perfect fit in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Not going to lie to you, but, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But no, I think Dan Quinn would still remain the favorite here in Dallas to land the job. I think there's enough people in that building. You talk to players, you talk to, they love Dan Quinn. They will run through a brick wall for that dude. And I think he would be the favorite here. But I just don't know how that goes. And then there's that whole, Bill Belichick thing that's, laying out there as well that, hey, if the Patriots do move on, what kind of affinity would Jerry Jones have for maybe trying to pull in Bill Belichick? I don't think that would personally happen because if I'm Bill Belichick,
there's a lot of cooks in that kitchen at that point.
Yeah, exactly. He likes to control personnel, even though he's not really all that good at it.
Yeah, I don't know that he can. I don't think he can make that sell anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And then and you would look at Will McClay like, hey man, Will McClay knows what he's doing, so we're gonna let him continue to pick the players. You just go over there and coach. Or maybe Belichick looks at the situation and says, you know what? Actually, you guys handle the personnel thing. I'll just come over here and coach, and maybe that's what it is. I don't know if I want Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick in the same room trying to run a football team together. I think I would pass on that idea because the luster of Bill Belichick is worn off. But I still think Dan Quinn will be the favorite to win the job, which all is to say is Mike McCarthy better get to the NFC title game, period. Better get to the NFC title game or all bets are off at that point.
Fair enough. I don't know that I have a level of confidence, but I'm also, it's not like I don't have I'm in this weird nebulous place where I'm like, they can, but will they? Assuming the situation that you set up, like that Green Bay Packers team has put some things together through the course of this season, and we've seen instances where offense and defense, various portions of this Cowboys team shows up or doesn't show up in the way that you expect, and so that. In a different way than it has been the last 2 years, I'm kind of in the same place where it's like, well, we'll see which Cowboys show up because it feels like that's been the prevailing feeling, which is they have the capability. Will they ultimately live up to it? And I think that might be the thing that drives Cowboys fans the most mad because it's the hope that kills you, right? Like if you're out here and you're like, hey, man, that team is bad. We know they're bad. We do not expect things. Or if you go, that team is good. We know they are good. We can expect that. This team should be good. Can you expect it?
Well, they better be, because if they are not and lose in either the wild card round or the divisional round, folks are coming from Mike McCarthy's head in this job. And depending on who they lose to in the fashion that they lose in, especially if they wind up losing a home playoff game where they've been dominant throughout the course of the last now 2 seasons. So they won 16 straight games at home. You can't be the team that finds a way to lose a game in a place where you've dominated teams throughout the last 2 seasons and feel like you should be comfortable with your job, even though, okay, so if the Cowboys win on Sunday, check this out.
Okay.
The Cowboys will have won for each of the last 3 seasons 12 games. They will have gone 12-5 each of the last 3 seasons, which means they have gone 36-15 in Mike McCarthy's last 3 seasons. For most coaches in the NFL, you're pretty secure about your job and whether or not you're coming back for another season. That is just simply not the case around here, even with all the success, even the offensive success that Mike McCarthy's had with Dak Prescott, with the whole turnover thing, which I thought was completely overblown anyway. But that's how successful this Cowboys team has been. And yet, as of right now, obviously, they only have 1 playoff win to show for it. I don't know how he would keep his job if he doesn't find a way to get to at least the title game.
Yeah, man, it's one of the frustrating things about like circling the Cowboys is that for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years at least, none of the wins matter. Like none of the regular
season wins don't matter. They don't matter.
And so he's working on what would be 3 straight 12-5 seasons.
Yes.
It's really good. Like
that's really, really good.
What's even funny is you look at you look at even the Jason Garrett tenure. You look at the win-loss and you're like, dog, this has been a really good and fairly stable circumstance.
Yes.
It do not matter. It do not matter. Right. Ultimately, what have you given me at the end? And so it's
1 playoff win right now to show for it. 1.
it's kind of crazy that is ultimately the case, but that is the framework that was established. I talk about that a lot, right? What is the framework that's established here? And the framework that's established is none of that matters. And so it's tough because during the season, you get a win and everybody's like, it don't matter. You get a loss, those matter though, right? The losses matter though, right? And so it's just like, what am I supposed to say? Y'all have already established I can't say nothing that means nothing because nothing matters until we get to the playoffs.
That's been my whole thing all season long. None of this matters. While there are things I can learn about this team that hopefully gives me a more informed opinion on what they might do when they get to the playoffs, ultimately, I don't care because you've had all this regular season success, but it's not translated into the playoffs. And now you got the nerve to possibly have not one, but 2 home playoff games, and you still may not find a way to get to the NFC title game. You got to go, Mike. Them's the breaks. Them's the breaks. You got to go.
It sucks so much that everything we're hinging this on a very incredibly small sample size where anything.
That's what we play for. That's what they That's what they play for. They play for titles.
I like that. I like that. You did a good job there. Well done.
Yeah, I don't play because, who am I? But I don't play. But these players, this organization, they've told me, they've told you and everybody else, the standard is Lombardi trophies. And if you don't find a way with everything that's been laid out for you to be able to have a chance to win a Super Bowl championship, especially how things have broken for you over the last few weeks, and you still don't find a way to get it done, hey, Mike, I'm sorry, man. Them's the rules. Them's the rules around here, and you may have to find another job. Although I do think, after I've said all of this, I do think Mike McCarthy does come back next season. I do think that.
Yeah,
I think he does come back.
Jerry's given a lot of support, but also left a lot of leeway on on ultimately the evaluation process that we think this goes. So
yes,
we'll see how it goes.
We'll see. It's the Gray Area Live podcast. Reginald Adetula joining me here on Friends Friday. Shout out to all of y'all who are watching on YouTube. If you got a question you want to throw in a question in there, you want to throw a super chat. If you want to do anything, just throw it in there, and we'll put it up on the screen. And
anything on the screen, huh? That's
I guess I should modify that. Don't put anything on the screen. Keep it.
Y'all heard what he
tasteful.
said. Nah, test him. See what he's about.
No, that's not. No, I don't want to end this broadcast on the count of y'all out here messing up. So please don't do that. Please don't do that. Talked a little NFL going into Week 18. Shout out to the Cowboys. Hopefully they handle business, and then we'll see what happens from there because all that matters is the playoffs. Speaking of playoffs, so the College Football Playoff National Championship Game is set. Washington, Michigan. Michigan's got one of the best defenses in the country. Washington can throw for a bazillion yards, but they can't stop anybody either. I wonder how that works out for J.J. McCarthy in the national title game. But before any of that, we got what may be the clip of the year on, New Year's Day, when Reese Davis got on national television talking about Jalen Milroe and the fact that, Bill O'Brien, shout out to him, apparently told Jalen Milroe, like, hey, man, I don't know about this quarterback thing for you, and I don't know if you should be out here doing this. And the inspiration behind it with the acronym LANK,
on his
LANK, let a naysayer know, according to Reese Davis, to which it's funny because I showed my wife this clip. And I said, hey, babe. She's like, where did this all start? I was like, well, let me show you the origins of let a naysayer know. And when she watched it, she got taken aback for a second because she thought, now, wait a minute. How is the white guy, Pat McAfee, going to be the one to point this out here? Like, what's going on here?
That's exactly the person who's going to point this out.
Well, wait.
Right? Like, he's the one.
When she saw Desmond Howard and Joey Galloway sitting there, she was like, now, wait a minute. How he going to be the one to say something about all of this here?
She's lived in America as a black woman. She knows exactly that's the white person's role to point that out. The black dudes are like, we heard that, but we're not blowing up our spot behind this. We'll talk about this when we get off air, right? We got a group. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they was in the send a text immediately. Like, did you hear?
Hey, did you hear what?
Pat McAfee basically owns a fifth of Disney at this point. He got enough leeway to be like, excuse me. That was not what I thought was being said. I know that acronym to mean something else.
I love the way he was like, what, that is not what I thought. You were like, and then what happened is it opened up the floor for everybody else to be like, oh, okay, good. We can talk about this. Because right now, what we thought was about to come out your mouth, and Joey Galloway even said, it's like, hey, man, you was way too smooth with that, bruh. You was way, way too smooth with how that came out based on what you was trying to talk about here.
Yeah, I do love that. Joey Galloway was like, I thought it was about to go down. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, they thought they was going to have to put hands on Reese. Like, they was like, we love working with, we worked with you for so long, but as soon as you say that word, we have to beat your ass. That's crazy. In the Rose Bowl, right? That's
exactly right here in one of the most prestigious places in sports. It might have to go down right now.
That's
right
like,
here.
I'm gonna have to get fired from Disney because you said that. That's insane. No, you know what? One thing that as I'm trying to find a new angle on this, because again, like everybody's talked about this, because why wouldn't you? It's hilarious. Something that I feel like nobody's really honed in on, and if somebody has, I'm sorry, I can't read the entire internet. The naysayer in question is Bill O'Brien, right? Did we think about that? That is the naysayer that Jalen Milroe was letting know.
Yes.
Like, so all of your thoughts on what the word actually means, that is who he was referring to first and foremost, right? There are other naysayers that have been out there on Jalen Milroe's acumen and ability, but the first one, the chief one, dude running the show on naysaying Jalen Milroe, Bill O'Brien's bald head.
The white guy over here in the corner. That's right. I guess, but I think that gets to the general idea of naysayer. Exactly, that naysayer over here. But it's funny because now when you look at it and the context in which Reese Davis, the thing that made me laugh the most was it felt like a whole parody of a white sportscaster doing and saying that word in place of what we all know thought was about to be said, and he just went through it and said the whole thing. But yet at the same time, we're talking about Bill O'Brien here in this case, the fact that he was the quote unquote naysayer. Look, for Milroe, I hope my man's cashing in on all of this with his whole, LANK and everything else. I hope I saw Mark Ingram. I don't know. Mark Ingram was wearing the shirt, former Alabama running back.
They passed it out to everybody.
So everybody got the shirt now at this point.
Yeah. And who of recent Alabama teams do you think would be funniest to see wearing the LANK shirt?
Ooh, just any Alabama, like any. You think Broadway
Greg
McElroy?
You think Broadway Joe come around the stadium every once in a while?
Broadway Joe would absolutely wear a LANK shirt. Absolutely would. Yep. AJ McCarron might get out here with a LANK shirt on.
I think more people would be concerned about AJ McCarron's girlfriend wearing, or maybe fiance or wife. I haven't kept up with their relationship.
Isn't that right, Brett Musburger?
That's right. In there, I was like, okay, AJ McCarron, cool, but is she wearing the shirt? That is what we'd like to know. And can she model it? That's what people are asking.
I'm trying to think if there would be any other ones. Who would absolutely wear a LANK shirt?
Who's that?
Julio Jones. Julio Jones would absolutely be wearing a LANK shirt for sure.
Julio Jones, that I feel like many football fans in unison found out still in the league. Did you see him? Did you see him last week catch not one but 2 touchdowns?
I'm sorry, Julio Jones did what last week in the NFL?
Oh, this is fun. Wait, give me a second. Hold on. Do you know what football team Julio Jones is employed by right now?
Now wait a minute. Is it Tampa?
No. Good guess.
No, he was with Tampa because I remember they played. Okay.
Yeah, he's since been released by them. That happened, what, a year or two ago?
Where is Julio Jones playing football in the year of our Lord 2024?
Can you say the Philadelphia Eagles? He scored 2 touchdowns, bro. 2 touchdowns.
Julio Jones caught 2 touchdowns last week?
In a single game, brother. Well past the expiration date.
Okay. I don't know if I should feel terrible for not knowing that or just continue to laugh at the fact that I had no idea that Julio Jones played
one of the greatest receivers of the last decade in the NFL.
Is running around.
And he could score 2 touchdowns and you would not know.
In witness protection in Philadelphia. I had no idea.
Football's crazy, man.
He might as well have been in witness protection because I had no idea he was there. None.
That's right.
He really been. How long you been with the Eagles?
This year.
Oh God.
I don't even remember when they picked him up, but I was like, oh, okay. I don't have to care about
the
that
Cowboys
anymore.
just played the Philadelphia Eagles a few weeks ago, and I feel like there was no mention of the fact that Julio Jones was running around in a Philadelphia Eagle uniform. None. Well, shout out to him, man. I'm glad that he's been able to still, make a living in some respects. But it is what it is.
He must love it. He's still out here trying to play.
Good for him. Maybe,
and I guess,
he's trying to pull the Gary. Hang on, he's trying to pull the Gary Payton to hang on for a title somewhere at some point.
Yeah, how's that working out, buddy?
Oh man, I don't know. Speaking of NBA though, shout out to Lank, man. Let a naysayer know. I tweeted out last night. Apparently, CeeDee Lamb had this look on his face during media availability, and it was just one of them looks like, "Hey man, I'm tired of talking about this. Like, what's going on here?" And I tweeted out, when you let a naysayer know you've been elite all season. By the way, Cowboys, they got a lot of money to pay. CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, Dak Prescott, all them dudes are getting contracts. All of them.
And they'll do it happily. They'll do it very happily.
Happily? I mean, Micah Parsons, yes, definitely happily. CeeDee Lamb, happily. Dak Prescott, they're looking at like, damn it.
Happily.
He came out here and balled out.
The organization will do it happily. All the rest of y'all just gonna have to deal with it.
Let me see. They had a question, BD. What losses financially will we take once we cut Gallup pre or post June 1 cut? Hate to see it, but it's gonna happen. And do y'all see Pollard being the starting back next year? That's a loaded question. There's a lot going on there.
He ain't the starting running back next year.
Oh, you on the Blake Corum train? That's how we get back to the national. Yeah, you on the Blake Corum train?
I have no idea, but I thought that was decided when they gave him the franchise tag. Unless you feel like the price of the brick done came down so much that they're like, "Hey, we can get you on the cheap now." But no, man, like I thought that was very clear that they have utilized, and of course they did not run him all that rookie contract, but they've utilized what they felt like they could out of him. They paid him got him that 1 year, $10 million, and then it's like, hey, we got to move on to the next. Right,
which is crazy.
Get another young guy we can get the yards out of.
If he gets 65 yards on Sunday, he'll be 1,000-yard back for the second consecutive season. Which, if you had told me coming into this week that Tony Pollard was on his way to being another 1,000-yard back, I'd be like, "I'm sorry, what? He's what?" Yeah, he's 65 yards away from having back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons for the Cowboys, and it's been the quietest 1,000 yards I've ever seen in my life. If he gets that 1,000 yards,
this is a passing offense at this point. Like, it's a passing offense.
Yes.
Fairly one-dimensionally so, yeah.
And look, I throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb every time. If he was doing the stuff that he was doing, he just set the Cowboys record for receiving yards and catches in a season. Like, he has absolutely played to an all-pro, first-team all-pro level this year. Like, he's been that good.
They got to be playing a all Madden offense or a Madden offense where it's just like, that's the good player. We throw the ball to him.
Just throw it to him all the time. Don't worry. Don't overthink it. Just that was the funny part about
press X. Press X. Double team, press X.
That was the funny part about the game against Detroit. The Cowboys realized, hey, let's just throw it to CeeDee all day. They can't stop him. No one can guard him. Let's just throw it to CeeDee all day and see how that works out. Oh, that's right. He went for over 200 yards and a 92-yard touchdown catch in the middle of all that. Just throw the ball to 88 all the time.
Yeah. And speaking of Michael Gallup, have you seen him on the field in the last few weeks? Because do we need to put him on a milk box or something?
Okay.
Like, Tolbert ganked his stuff.
Has he?
Pretty much.
I mean, I guess so. I like Gallup. I like Michael Gallup a lot. Good dude. I don't know what to do with that because I was not in favor of them paying him over the, $12 million a year coming off the torn ACL, which the Cowboys have a propensity to do, pay dudes big, large sums of money after getting hurt the previous year, whatever. That's just their shtick, I guess. But I don't know. Brandon Cooks has been good. CeeDee Lamb's been all world. The rest of the guys, cool. Jake Ferguson has been really good for them. Jake Ferguson is going to be a top 10 tight end.
Yeah.
Say it again.
When they get in the football.
And that's the part. Yeah. And I feel like the more they utilize him, he'll continue to be that guy. But I like Jake Ferguson a lot as the number one tight end, especially going into the next year. I think he's going to have an even bigger year.
And you talk about the number one tight end. You know who's not the number two tight end? Your boy Peyton Hendershot looking a little funny in the light right now. I know that
tight end room after Jake Ferguson is all right. It's very okay, very okay. or as you would like to say, what?
Aggressively fine.
Yes, very much so. That is the Cowboys tight end room to a T outside of Jake Ferguson. Which okay.
By the way, I'm not no cap dude, but Spotrac says that if you there's a potential out after this season for Michael Gallup, and if you get rid of him, $13 million cap hit, dead cap. So
$13 million dead cap.
That's what it say here on this electronic device.
So it actually would be cheaper to keep him because he's I think his contract is $12 million a season.
Well, the cap hit next year would be 13.8. So it would not be cheaper, but you'd only be saving like $700,000.
So it technically would be cheaper to actually keep him versus cutting.
Yeah, paying another wide receiver to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't realize the cap was that big for him.
Yeah, they backloaded that thing, man.
Oh,
and then also like the whatever the whatchamacallit signing bonus is that ultimately gets spread out. You have to eat that, And so yeah, all that.
Oh boy. It's the Gray Area Live podcast. Friends Friday. Reginald Adetula joining me live here on YouTube. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us here on this Friday. As I mentioned, week 18 of the NFL season. Shout out to the season finale. College football playoff national title. I'm picking. Am I picking Michigan? Yeah, I think I'm picking Michigan because I just want to see the committee squirm handing Jim Harbaugh the national championship trophy. I think I just want to see that. After he's been suspended not once but twice, I would love to see that happen. No, are we in favor of that? Or are we in favor of Michael Penix?
I'm fine either way, honestly. And I'm not sure how I want to pick this because I feel like this game's gonna be really game script dependent, right? If the Washington offense can get off, like this Michigan offenses and team in general is not built to play from behind.
No.
However,
which is why I think
right.
Michigan's defense is going to show up in a big way against Washington. Like all that finesse stuff is not going to fly. I think with Michigan.
Now this is the thing. You got to remember that's like the award-winning offensive line at Washington. Like very good offense,
yes.
Very athletic. I think one of the college football coaches, or I think it might have been Richard Johnson, had talked to a college football coach, and they had made mention of Washington is one of like two offensive lines that coach had seen that does not wear knee braces.
Wait, what?
Right? Like their offensive line doesn't wear knee braces, which speaks to just like how powerful and quick they are.
Is that supposed to be some kind of badge of honor that they're not
a badge of honor, just like speaks to like the ways in which these dudes move. And I was like, that's interesting. And so, it speaks to just how good that offensive line is. And so like getting pressure on Michael Penix will be an interesting thing because Michigan was able to do that against Alabama. Now Alabama's offensive line has some issues. They don't pass block all that well, but you're not going to have three defensive backs to cover McMillan, Polk, and Odunze. And so those things are going to be tough, especially when Michael Penix is as accurate as he's been. But all that being said, right, it's somewhat going to be, can Washington get, and Washington's defense, and then obviously with help from the offense and the score, get Michigan out of being able to just run power down your throat the whole game, right? And if you put J.J. McCarthy in a place where now he has to make plays on a consistent basis, that is not his strength. That's not the way that this thing is built. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting.
What's up, Aisha? What's happening? This here on the Gray Area podcast. Look, man, it's funny because Washington, they beat Oregon twice.
Yes.
And Oregon's head coach is Dan Lanning.
Yes.
Dan Lanning came from Georgia.
Correct.
And one thing that Georgia loves to do is to beat you up with their offensive and defensive lines. And Oregon is built a lot like your traditional SEC team. And Washington was like, okay, no problem. And they beat them not once but twice. So I don't think they'll be scared of the physicality of Michigan in this game on Monday. I just do think that Michigan's run game and their defense is that much better and will find a way to contain. You're not going to ultimately stop Penix in that offense, but I think they'll do enough to contain them to allow them to be able to dictate how they want to run the football and beat up. And here's the thing. We talk about, Blake Corum running the football against them. Washington literally has one of the worst passing defenses in the sport. Historically bad is the Washington passing defense. So maybe J.J. McCarthy finds a way to make some things happen, although I wouldn't necessarily trust that. But at the same time, I think there will be opportunities for him to be able to make some things happen in the passing game that I don't think necessarily would be something that we would expect based on what Michigan is like to do throughout the course of the year. What was it, the Penn State game? I don't think they called a single pass play in the second half against Penn State on the road.
Why would they? Penn State stinks.
My point being, this isn't a team that's like, hey, we're going to get out here and air it out for 450 and beat you, although they might be able to do it because, Washington's pass defense is as bad as it is, although they did make the play at the end, did the secondary to ultimately, save their coaches, after he tried to give Texas the football game at the end of at the Sugar Bowl. I just remember watching it. I'm just like, hey, Washington, what are you doing? Like, this is not hard here. Kneel the ball 3 times and then punt and then move on. Instead, you got your running back hurt in the middle of that, and you gave Texas a really good chance to beat you and send you home after you fumbled away what should have been a very easy set of circumstances to kneel the ball down and then punt and then put them deep in their own territory. I didn't understand what
they expect Dylan Johnson to play, by the way, still. So,
he is going to be okay.
That's what Kalen DeBoer seems to be letting on, that he'll play.
He better say that after what he pulled and got his running back hurt. He better say that. Oh well,
it's going to be an undefeated national champion. Going to be an undefeated.
I'm going to pick Michigan. Champion. I'm going to pick Michigan, and they're going to see Jim Harbaugh ride off into the sunset back to the NFL.
Yeah.
Before he gets the national championship stripped from him.
I'm going to say Washington just because I feel like I've enjoyed watching Washington this year. They have been getting away with it all year, frequently being looked at as the underdogs. And also, I think it'll be funny to be able to continue the Michigan jokes. All the Michigan fans are Michigan fans I know are fun people that I enjoy being able to.
You know a Michigan fan? Yeah. Oh, I guess we do know one.
A few of them.
I know one, I guess.
I know a few of them. I mean, you know the homie Mooney at least.
Oh, Mooney, yeah. Shout out to Mooney. And the only other one I was thinking of was Derek Holland.
There's more of them. There are more than
there are.
Look, Michigan's got a big fan base. I know you definitely know some Michigan fans, buddy.
Okay. I don't know, off the top of my head other than those two, but shout out to them.
Ooh, boy.
Who else is a Michigan fan? Can we say their name?
They'll pop up. I'm just saying in general.
Those were okay. I was like, I feel like you're trying to play a game with me that I'm not.
No. I wasn't doing all that. I was actually, if you can tell, I'm looking off screen. I'm looking at some statistics. You see these nice green and purple.
What the hell is that?
GameOnPaper.com is a very good analytical website when it comes to college football. You know that I'm
Game on Paper.
Yes, GameOnPaper.com.
You brought notes to this conversation today. That's
not notes. You mentioned something and it made me look it up. And Washington against the run, when it comes to success rate, ranks 126th in the nation. Success rate.
So they got one of the worst passing defenses and one of the worst rushing defenses in the sport.
I wouldn't say they have one of the worst passing defense against the pass. Now they allow a lot of plays, which makes sense when you talk about the style of gameplay that they play. But if we're going to use EPA defensively, 44th in the nation when it comes to against the pass, which isn't terrible. I think the worst metric that you can point to against the pass is that success rate, right? And success rate is they are 69th in the nation, which is nice, but also not nice.
Okay. What's up, TJKTV? Appreciate you hanging out with us. I just want Michigan. I want to see Jim Harbaugh win the thing right off in the sunset, then go to the Chargers and blow up that organization.
When was the last time Michigan won a national championship?
I want to say 1997. I think they won a share of the national championship that year. I don't think it was a full outright national title, but I think it was 97 that they won. That was Lloyd Carr, way back when.
Yeah, they could wait a little longer.
Either way, we are going to see, I think, a rematch of the national championship game. Either way, because now Michigan will be playing Washington in the Big Ten. So,
are they playing next year? Because I know that Big Ten got about
they are
teams in there. So
exactly, yeah, they are. So we'll get to see this game next year, probably without Jim Harbaugh there. Before we get out of here today, we'll talk a little NBA because, by the way, I don't know if you saw this. You see Luka Doncic pop up on the injury report?
I didn't because I didn't look at the injury report, but that makes sense. It's the quad, ain't it?
No, ankle swelling. Yeah. AKA, we're finding a reason to send him out against Portland probably on Friday.
Good, because they're like, Portland be going for these ankles anyways. Let's go ahead and keep everybody upright.
Look, man, I know the Mavericks so sick of watching Portland come up in there, and whether it be in Portland or in Dallas, because look, here's how this ran down. First game, Dwight Powell falls on Kyrie Irving. He misses 12 games with his.
Which I imagine Portland's got to be like, you can't hold that against us. He be doing that all the time. He's clumsy. That's not our fault.
The second game, back in Portland, 8 days later, Derek Lively turns his left ankle. Then on Wednesday, Derek Lively turns the same left ankle again, and then Grant Williams turns his right ankle in the fourth quarter, had to leave. Neither one of them came back. Now, they're questionable going into the game on Friday, and then they play Minnesota on Sunday, and then welcome in John Morant and the Grizzlies on Tuesday, to which I say, y'all better beat Portland on Friday.
Well, tonight they need to get everybody wrapped up with some ankle, like everybody that ankle spat, like look like a football player. These ankles are not going to be mobile.
No,
but we gonna make
Cat's gonna be a bubble wrap running around. Like, hey man, can y'all move? No, we're in bubble wrap because
we're gonna wrap it up with tape. We're gonna do all that. They're gonna look like them Under Armour commercials.
I will say though, watching Luka and Kyrie on Wednesday, look, man, Luka had 41, Kyrie had 29, and when I tell you it was the easiest 70 combined points I'd seen in a long time. Cass was just making shots all over the place. I think both of them combined in the second quarter because the Mavs scored 43 points. They combined for 31 of the 43 in the second quarter, and it was easy money between Luka and Kyrie. And I think that's the high level. Like when we thought when those two got together, that would be the high level offense that we would see from them on a mostly fairly consistent basis. But when you actually see it in motion, it's kind of wild to watch the two of them work off of each other, but then watch the offense flow the way that it does when the two of them are on like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know what I can add to that. You're right on. It's what it's supposed to be. It's the whole reason that you pair these two together. Luka can be an offense unto himself. Kyrie can be an offense unto himself. It creates a lot of dilemmas for defenses between the two of them. And so, yeah, as long as others are pitching in a little bit and making some shots, it makes things a lot really good. And I'm obviously being able to play off each other again. Makes it tough on other folks. So, yeah, no, it's what it's supposed to be. And I think more than anything, the thing that I enjoyed with their first meeting against the Portland Trailblazers, I keep wanting to call them Toronto, Portland Trailblazers in this 7-game homestand is, hey, man, Kyrie came out and immediately, asserted himself being like, this is the role that I'm here for, and I'm going to come out, I'm going to shoot very quickly. I'm going to be aggressive. And that's what they need from him. That first game that he came back from the from the foot contusion in Utah, where he was passive and all that. Ain't nobody here for that. Cut that out.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to cuss on your platform here. But cut that out.
We don't need you to, ease your way back into this, Kyrie. No. Just go for broke. And that's not what we're here for.
You know exactly what your role is. You've been here long enough. Come in and do the role.
Oh, speaking of roles. Hey, man.
Hawaiian rolls, cinnamon rolls.
Those. Okay, wait a minute. Now, are you a cinnamon roll guy?
Absolutely. 100%.
Do you add anything to your cinnamon roll? Or are you just plain cinnamon roll guy? You don't add like pecans or any of this other, stuff to it. You just
nah, man. It is just an avenue for sugar at this point. What you mean?
Are you a cinnamon roll person?
Every once in a while, if I'm in the airport or something.
I don't like the way you downplayed cinnamon like that. I want you. That's the holy grail of cinnamon roll.
Is it? You might be doing a lot there. You might be.
Is it not?
There. It's fine.
No,
it's good.
Name me a better cinnamon roll? Cinnabon. Fresh, hot cinnamon roll.
Probably one from a bakery. That's fresh. Like, you're going up? Like, you realize? Just take a second and step back. You are going up for a fast food cinnamon roll.
Would you consider that fast food?
Basically.
Okay. I don't think I would agree with you on that because it's only for cinnamon rolls, and there's no you don't go to a Cinnabon like to like through a drive-through or nothing. Like you go there if you're going to a Cinnabon.
You go to a Schlotzsky's.
Well, that's not technically a Cinnabon. That's a Schlotzsky's that just happens to have.
But regardless, you trying to tell me that an artisanal Cinnabon or artisanal cinnamon roll is not better than a cinnamon roll? Cinnabon, something like that.
Like a classically baked one. I don't know.
At a bakery where they be doing this.
I consider Cinnabon a bakery. Why not? No, that's not
Whatever.
what we're doing.
Whatever, dog.
Okay.
Clearly, you have allegiances to Cinnabon.
Definitely. Are you kidding me?
And that was not a physical appearance joke. That was about what you're talking about.
Oh wow!
Thank
you for clarifying.
I wanted to make that clear because I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, y'all gonna accuse me of fat shaming. I wanted to make it clear.
Like you caught yourself to see what you
I'm
did
basing this on the content of your character, KG.
Oh wow! Oh, right. now it's the content of my character.
100%. Your character has screamed, "I love me some Cinnabon."
I mean, if the shoe fits, I guess. Real quick before we get out of here, I want to go to the West Coast because I was watching Golden State and the Nuggets last night, and Golden State was up 18 with 6.5 minutes left in the game. Nikola Jokic and them boys walked them down, and Nikola Jokic hits one of the most insane shots I've seen in quite some time. A 39-foot bank shot off the right side, nails it, and they win the game on his game-winning three-pointer. I think it was 127, 124, whatever. But the couple things coming out of the game. Number one, Nikola Jokic is an alien.
Yeah.
Number two, what's up with Golden State? Because Jonathan Kuminga got out here and said, look, man, I'm sick of this.
Well, apparently, according Shams wrote an article about this earlier today in The Athletic, and he doesn't quote Kuminga particularly. He talks about a source who's maybe close to Kuminga or knows what's happening. Has talked about the way
they got Shams right on the phone. Hey, Jonathan on the somebody from Jonathan want to talk to you, man. He got something to say.
Shams been cooking this week. The sources have been sourcing. The sources have been sourcing.
Wait. Before we get to the Kuminga thing, okay. Because you brought this up. The whole Laker thing with the whole Darvin Ham out here. We don't know how we feel about him. Javon Bulla and Shams Charania, who put the story together for The Athletic, they was like, look, man, 6 sources told us about all of this. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4.
It's funny that you're doing it that way because they basically put that in there to be like, this isn't just LeBron talking right now. That's what that meant.
Clutch ain't behind this one, okay? It's 6 other people.
Well, they might, but also there's more people. We talked to more than just LeBron because LeBron got up after that game, did not speak to media, and the next morning we had a piece from Shams Charania. It was like, okay. Well, we know what started this at the very least. Yes. He hit up Shams like, hey, let's get to work and warm up the printing press.
6 sources. That was hilarious.
Yeah,
but that whole Kuminga thing in Golden State is wild right now.
Yeah. One thing that I guess I had not thought about explicitly, but this story kind of brings up is Nick Kerr, or not Nick Kerr, that's his son. Steve Kerr. I don't know why I went to Nick. Maybe it's the naysayers and all this happening.
I see what you did. That was good.
Steve Kerr is not a coach that coaches young players. And there's many coaches that kind of have that feel. Rick Carlisle was a coach that was like, you get young players in there, that it's not really going, he doesn't really, appeal for that.
Rock with him. Rock with rookies like that.
There's a lot of young players like rookies, early in their development that seems like Steve Kerr has not really, been able to make work. And it maybe illuminates some of the issues that went with them trying to play for now and play for later, like a season or two ago, where they were trying to bring in these young cats and then also integrate them with the established warriors of old that they had. And I mean, obviously that's already a tough needle to thread. And then you also seem to have a Steve Kerr that's not capable of doing that. But yeah, Steve Kerr, I think a lot of this is the genesis of this is him not playing well with Kuminga, that is, not playing well with Andrew Wiggins, and then also like seeing his minutes be really capped because Andrew Wiggins is getting those minutes in that same kind of role. And Steve Kerr, in talking about what happened, I think in the game last night where they, got walked down, Kuminga didn't play the last 18 minutes, even though he had played well in his time. And I guess what he had gone to was Kuminga had his sit down time. By the time his time to get up was happening, they were playing well and they were rolling. He was just like, we just kept it rolling. By the time they were not playing well, he was like, well, it's too late. He'd been on the bench too long. And like all of that sounds good in a vacuum, but ultimately you put this in there and you go, Kuminga has not been playing a lot of minutes, even though he's been playing well. And the dude has been able to get out here and talk to media and say things like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong to not play. And it's like, I don't know if this is like malicious or it just comes down to this dude does not have the touch for being able to manage young players. And that ultimately stinks because you got a player that is valuable in Jonathan Kuminga and is going to be and should be helpful for a team that is like aging out. We had Klay Thompson out here talking very very reflectively,
the other day. Yes,
about the idea of, trying to mentor the young guys and not bringing negative energy, trying to chase what was once, a thing for him. And you're not able to find a way to get that young player in and help you to win. And it's only going to get murkier because when you talk about the wings, those guys are, your forwards that are going to be helping defensively, two of your best defensive players who are necessary to play. Now you add another forward in Draymond Green when he comes back from suspension. It only gets more difficult from here. And if you're losing the belief, because that's what the story is about, losing the belief of that player, I don't know how you tap into him.
And that's the part that I'm thinking with Golden State is, and the other part is Draymond Green is about to be on his way back here soon as well. And trying to reintegrate him into this team based off of what they are and what they are not, because I thought Klay Thompson actually played fairly well last night against Denver, but it didn't feel like it mattered all that much. Stephen Curry played well also, but it just feels like where is the direction of this team? It feels like they're at a crossroads of trying to figure out how much longer do we continue to run this with Steph, Klay, and Draymond while still trying to figure out which of these young guys we feel like can be around for our future as we try to transition and move out of this whole era that was, the three with Green, Thompson, and Curry. And I don't know if they're doing a really good job of managing that. And you know what's underrated about all this too, and who's not there anymore, and I don't think people really have discussed this all that much. Bob Myers is gone, and I think he saw the writing on the wall with all of this. It's like, you know what, maybe it's time for me to go because, maybe he wanted to go do some different things, go do television, whatever the case may be. That team and the direction that they were headed in doesn't feel like something he wanted to be a part of. And maybe there was good reason based off of what's happening with this team right now. And he decided to get out at the right time. And the Warriors don't seem like a team that has any kind of continuity in that way.
You're giving him a lot of credit. He was there in what I was talking about, the idea of playing for now and playing from later. He was the dude there, right? Like he was
able to still help that team find a roster good enough to win a championship. They still won a title in the midst of that. Just drafted 2 seasons ago.
They drafted James Wiseman under him. They've drafted we not doing the thing where Bob Myers was the fix. His contract.
Well, that goes back to what you were talking about with Steve Kerr, though. Not playing young guys and not how to coach young guys.
The reason why I mentioned James Wiseman, not those other dudes. James Wiseman went to Detroit and couldn't find no playing time there neither. Right? Like James Wiseman just looks like he's not it. Period. You're right.
I think there were times where Wiseman played decently, and you thought, "Oh, wait a minute, this might be."
That's what you love hearing about your number 2 overall pick. Played decently.
Well, I'm saying like when the opportunities were there based off of what they were still trying to do and win championships, because I think they thought Wiseman could be a part of the long-term future going along as Steph and Curry and Draymond and these guys aged out, that he could be a part of what they were doing, what they were going on, moving forward there. And it just didn't work out. And it looks like the same thing's kind of happening to Kuminga, where he's shown plenty enough game to where you think that he could be a part of the long-term future, but they won't play him. To which I say, hey, Dallas, why don't you go get in that conversation for?
Absolutely. There's a lot of teams that need to be going and trying to see if they can poach a Kuminga out of there. I think honestly, you were saying that they were trying to merge these things. I actually disagree with that. I think that they are trying to grasp desperately to the ends of this era in their team, and they've also done some level of committing to some pieces that they probably shouldn't have, if you talk about just the, bare bones basketball of it. But when you talk about the emotional attachments and the ways in which, you've built this, dynasty in a way, and they wanted to respect the players in this, one of those, being Klay Thompson, when you cling on to those players, it makes it harder to fit pieces around them. And we've also mentioned that it seems like Steve Kerr has not found a good way of bringing young players along with also still trying to hold on and grasp on to the last embers of that era. And so I think that those things ultimately all fall apart in that way. And we were talking about this before we got this podcast started. The Warriors don't feel the same, not because of, anything in particular, or not because of they've been demystified or whatever. They don't look the same because they used to be so good at various things. They were elite at shooting the three. They could still get to the rack in addition to that. And they were elite at defense as well.
Mm-hmm.
But they are solid shooting the three as a team, right? They are not as great at getting to the rack. And let me tell you, I just pulled up their defensive rating right now. They are 22nd in the league in defensive rating.
Yeah.
Like,
they don't guard well anymore.
This doesn't work the same.
Yeah. That was the hallmark of those teams, being able to get to the basket, also being able to knock down, obviously, threes with Clay and Steph, but they defended the hell out of everybody.
Their true shooting percentage as a team is 15th.
Yeah. Like they're a middling team with what they have there, and now you're trying to bring back Draymond Green into the midst of all this as well, an aging player who his game is predicated on, I'm running this team on both ends of the floor, and the amount of work that is being asked of him maybe at this stage of his career is not, you won't be able to get that from him anymore. So I don't know, man. Golden State's in an interesting spot. The Lakers are in a really interesting spot because ever since they won that in-season tournament, they've looked terrible, to put it lightly. They have looked horrendous. Even with LeBron and AD playing at some of the levels that they're still playing at, all these cats around them, hey, man, like what's going on here? I don't know if it's ill-fitting roster or what, but that team does not look anywhere near a type of playoff contender at this point.
Yeah, there's definitely some parts of this that is ill-fitting roster, and then there's some parts of this that Darvin Ham is not utilizing. There's the thing that the Lakers were supposed to be able to tout this season was consistency. They brought back a lot of these, and they've just rotated the roster
with a lot of guys they brought back. 100%. Yeah,
they've rotated this roster and the starting lineup a whole bunch. There's been a lot of moments where their third best player, Austin Reeves, has not been starting because he does not work well with D'Angelo Russell or whatever, which, good God, I can't imagine deferring decisions on my team because of D'Angelo Russell. But then also Rui Hachimura, who's probably your fourth best player, also not playing certain times, sometimes being injured, right? And ultimately, Darvin Ham's losing the locker room. They don't believe in what he's doing because it doesn't seem like he has an idea of what they're doing. They have made it past Christmas, and they don't have an identity as a team.
No. Which honestly should be fairly easy to come up with, because at this point, as good as LeBron is still playing, this team needs to be playing through Anthony Davis.
Correct.
Period. Like what Davis does, we know what he does defensively. Offensively, you need to play through him, whether he's on the block, whether he's, shooting mid-range, whether he's knocking down threes from time to time. The offense needs to start going through Anthony Davis and needs to play through him, and LeBron playing off of Anthony Davis and not necessarily, LeBron being facilitator of, like, everything needs to go through Anthony Davis at this point.
Well, the tough thing about going through Anthony Davis is he's not a ball handler, right? And so
he doesn't have to be.
And you still need a ball handler.
All that. You can let
LeBron that's the thing. I think that's the issue. You cannot let LeBron do all those things. He is capable of doing those things, but if you want to succeed, it'd be smart to support him with other ball handlers. That's where someone like Austin Reeves needs to be starting all the damn time, right?
And that's why they brought Gabe Vincent in there to do some of that too, but he's been injured.
And again, this is why. All right, so I don't remember who was making this point. It might have been Zach Lowe, I think.
Tim McMahon and Zach Lowe. I know where you're going.
Tim McMahon.
Yep.
This team,
I know exactly where you're going.
Instead of having D'Angelo Russell, if they have Mike Conley,
yep.
Holy crap.
Yep. Because Mike Conley, what he's doing in Minnesota, facilitating that offense with Cat and Anthony Edwards, and obviously Gobert doing what Gobert does, cleaning up everything.
And then
Conley
also just
being glue that's
the floor general of this, right? Like the ways in which he can understand, hey, man, what this team needs right in this moment, right? Not just, hey, there's a play to be made, but what does this team need right now? Because he's the one that's kept Rudy Gobert attached, right? Rudy Gobert can, and bigs in general, we've lost this as the game and the NBA has moved away from bigs. It used to be you got to get your bigs touches so that the big man has incentive to keep doing stuff. And Rudy Gobert, they be out here like doing him like Kobe, like go get rebounds. Go get the rebound if you want to score. Otherwise,
Gobert's never been a player that's, demanded touches in that way on the offensive. He's never been that guy. But he's always been a guy that's been willing to do the dirty work, period, no matter what.
But he likes it, right? Like it goes better if you give him a little something here and there, right?
Yeah.
That's almost the more scary part is the players or the people in general in your life that don't necessarily aren't like high maintenance, I guess, as we call them. Mm-hmm. They still need stuff. And if they are not going to demand that, someone has to be alert enough to be able to, hey, they need a little something. Let me slide that to you. Mike Conley's that guy. right? Mike Conley's like, hey, things are not necessary. I'll get Gobert going, get him a pick and roll, get him a little something, let him have a little something, and that'll keep him going. That doesn't sound like what this Lakers team needs in some ways. Is like just another adult, another person who has kind of that intelligence, that basketball intelligence to know how to keep the organization and the operation running in some ways.
Yeah, because D'Angelo Russell will never be anything of that nature. Never.
Buddy. Buddy. But yeah, thanks for stopping by the booth, Darvingham.
Hey, man, that cat took it to a Western Conference final. He may not make and survive the season. To which I say, who would want that? I know there would be plenty of coaches who would want that job, but if you really look at it and with the direction that they're going, I don't know who really would like, hey, let's sign up to coach this roster with Anthony Davis and LeBron James.
There's only 30 of them. There's only 30 of them. And this isn't
somebody gonna take the job, of course. Somebody gonna take it. But
this isn't like the NFL where if you go in and it just goes bad, that you're like, oh, well, that's your chance. You can bounce back around. Like retreads are popular in the NBA. And so, yeah, go in.
Could you imagine the Lakers called the Mavs for Jason Kidd?
I don't know what to say to that.
What if Genie got on the phone and it was like, hey, Mark, or actually whomever owns it, the Adel says, hey, we want your head coach.
I don't think, well, they'd still be talking to Mark because he's still running.
Oh, that's right. He runs basketball operations. That's
right. That's what I've been told.
I've heard, yes.
No, they don't let that happen. You want to know why? One of your two stars, his whole demeanor in some ways is predicated on the relationships that you have. And one of those big relationships is the mentor-mentee relationship between Jason Kidd and Kyrie Irving. No. You do not break that and just, well, Nico's good enough. Good luck. See what happens. Right? Because again, it's something that we've been real quiet about. And look, I don't want to infantilize Kyrie Irving, but hey man, if it gets just nasty enough, the thing that everybody's worried about is like, okay, but what happens if and when it breaks bad?
Mm-hmm.
And the Mavs seem to be doing a lot to make sure that you don't get anywhere near that. Sending Jason Kidd away would be a step towards that, whatever ultimately it is. If it doesn't happen,
to Los Angeles with him. You might as well send Kai to Los Angeles with him. At that rate. You might as well just send him. Actually, you know what, Jason? If you go, can you take Kai with you? Just take him with you because once you leave, it's probably not gonna happen. And then we're looking at Luka like, well, Luka, I guess you got to coach the team too. You're gonna coach the team,
buddy. That might be sending this whole thing into turmoil because then at that point it's like, hey, you got Luka superstar, then you send him away and a coach that he seems to like in some regards, some respects, and it's like, hey, what happens? Because we are right in that time in a career where a star might go, check please, right? Like you don't want to do that.
So did we just come to the conclusion at the end of this show that Jason Kidd is the thing that's holding all this together in Dallas?
And I don't know if that should make you feel comforted or I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know how I feel about all of that at all, to be honest with you. Reg, tell the folks they can find you. What you got going on, man?
At Reginald Adetula on Twitter. I'm always on Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. on 105.3 The Fan, show called The Get Right. That's simple.
And
what and? Oh, I guess you can catch me every once in a while on the Locked On Mavericks podcast with Nick Gangstad.
That's right. Thank you. I was going to make sure that you
I'd be forgetting. I'm sorry. This lobster mac is sitting here looking at me in the face, so I got to go.
All right. And fortunately, and I think we've been able to work this out, for the foreseeable future, Friends Friday will be with Reg Adetula.
I think so. We'll see if scheduling conflicts pop up. But
that happens from time to time.
It does happen from time to time, but we'll hang out. This is fun.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be shorter, but we just be talking.
I know, right? That's my bad. That's on me.
Naysayers be talking, dog. Naysayers be talking.
The naysayers are ready for this one today. They were ready for this one today. That's for sure. That is the end of our episode today here on the Gray Area Podcast. Really appreciate Reg for joining me today for Friends Friday. He's about to go eat. You can make sure that you download and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast for free. Give it a 5-star rating and write a review for it while you're there. You can also watch the replay of the show here on my YouTube channel here at Kevin Gray Sports. I'll be back on Monday to recap NFL season finale weekend, as they like to call it. And we'll see where the Cowboys land. And I will have, I'm sure, very, very poignant thoughts on what's going to be happening with the Cowboys based on what happens this weekend. So until Monday, for Reginald Adetula, my name is Kevin Gray. It's been the Gray Area right here on Kevin Gray Sports on YouTube. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.